Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of The Letter. Oh, this is gonna suck. We're gonna have a talk with Luke, our alcoholic husband who may have cheated on us and possibly had a kid with someone else's wife. Let's go. Simple isn't the adjective I would use to describe the task at hand. Because really, how does one tell their husband that they want to separate and say that no, this is not a divorce? Easy. In this particular case, you say it is a divorce. Not yet, at least. The possibility is there. But still, how am I even to explain that to Luke without him throwing a fit? Cutting too deeply into my sausages, I open my mouth to excuse myself. That is, until I spy Luke mashing and stirring his poached eggs with a fork like a petulant child. He has been silent all the while, chin in his hand and elbow resting on the table. I worry that my absence after the debacle may have caused more harm than good.
Luke?
It's not you. Okay, it's you. That's a fantastic achievement.
I think we need a bit of a break.
She just came right out and said it.
You know, some time apart.
At my words, he grows still and silent. Silenter? I'm not quite sure whether I should be worried or not. I take it as my cue to keep talking.
It's not permanent or anything like that. Just for a while. In a few days, perhaps. I was thinking I can move back into our penthouse in the meantime, but I won't be moving out right away, so that I can help settle everything here. And I haven't even thought of packing yet. And I'll want to ask Johans to assign some of our staff. Unless you want the penthouse anyway. Then I'll stay here instead.
No, you take the penthouse. It'll be easier for you.
That went more easily than I thought. It isn't supposed to be this easy, is it? Can he really react so aloof to it?
Isn't this to your liking? I imagine that you'd like the space and independence. You'll have the bed and covers to yourself, and you can have whatever you want prepared for meals. You can even have all the wine you want, though I'd rather that you don't.
This isn't about that, Hana. Well, it's partly that, but...
The man stops playing with his food, choosing instead to push the plate aside.
What's wrong, Luke?
He slumps back in his chair and just stops short of putting his feet up on the table. I suspect he's wanting some wine or absinthe by now, but any sort of alcohol is suspiciously absent in his hands.
Aside from that disaster yesterday and you telling me you want a divorce, everything is peachy keen.
Yeah, touche.
Will you want me to start in the letters then? To start the divorce settlements and whatnot? Will you be seeking ways to throw me out onto the street without a penny to my name?
Oh, now that's interesting. Because it was established that Hannah herself is very rich. I didn't know what Luke's financial situation was, though. I figured Hannah's probably the richer one, but does this imply that he just doesn't have anything on his own?
No, Luke, this isn't a divorce. I just told you this is only temporary. Are you really having a sulk because of what she said yesterday?
I am having a sulk because you believe her. You stormed out and now you're asking for us to split up? Soon enough, you'll want to throw me out like I'm a piece of trash.
Do you think I would be this calm if I believed her, Lucille Mitchell, right? Because believe me, if I did, well, it wouldn't be pretty. Besides, I know how you feel about children. It makes her whole statement laughable.
Sure, whatever you say.
His mouth draws into a thin line, and I can't bring myself to comment on his half-hearted reply. Honestly, just take him at his word and let it go. Just go. To me, the silence that follows feels oppressive. Whatever. Go through with it. It only emphasizes the wall that has been built up by my obeisance and his hubris. And it looms between us, keeping us apart.
When are you leaving? In a week?
It won't take that long to pack. After All Saints, perhaps? I'll go and inform the staff of this.
He only nods. I'm still waiting for something, but this is going better than I thought. And I'll be lying if I said that didn't disappoint me. True, but this kind of just fortifies your perspective, doesn't it? I expected more resistance. The man could be stubborn as a mule if he wants to be. Perhaps I can leave now, just to spite him. That's like tomorrow or the day after. But that isn't like me. Even if this does end in a divorce, a thing we both surely wish to avoid, we can still leave on amicable terms. You're not on amicable terms now, though. Nor were you before, like a couple days ago. There's no point in making a mountain out of a molehill.
What are you still doing here? Just leave. You still have some packing to do, don't you?
Yeah, do it.
Go ahead. I won't stop you.
Cool. Go ahead. And do nothing. There isn't much to do, it seems, whenever I step up to the plate and try to take responsibility for something. Perhaps because everything is already being handled by someone hired specifically for that job? And with Johannes overseeing the staff and Luke handling everything else as a whole, that doesn't leave much for me. I can't even take the job of delegation because all it takes is a word to one of the senior staff and everything will be taken care of for me. Moving in here, a few days ago, may have very well been the chore that took the most effort from me. And that didn't take any real effort at all.
Yes, Hannah, go buy a mansion in the middle of nowhere. Good idea. Great plan.
Oh yeah, it does occur to me that this is an anniversary gift. That is awkward. There are no dishes to set aside and busy myself with. Any mess left behind is now nearly non-existent. To sit on a counter while eating cake is supposed to be my next plan. Alas, there isn't even one to finish off, and I don't really know what brought me to the kitchen in the first place. Kitchens. It's not like I'm craving anything else, nor do I have any unfinished business left there. But there's a calling to this room. A literal calling, crying from under the hatch. Speaking of calling, why not do just that? Might as well, since I have nothing else to do. At least that will require some effort on my part. With how cut off from the rest of Luxburn the mansion is, and with how long it was abandoned before we moved in, having a landline is out of the question. The solution, supposed to be, are mobiles, though it isn't much considering how spotty the signal is in the area. Yeah, that's the thing, I thought you would particularly need a landline in this place. It'll take a bit of maneuvering to get even a single bar as it is. That is something I would not deal well with. I'm more of a computer desktop person than a phone person, but no signal in my own home? That would drive me crazy. It takes a bit, as I said it would. I have to park my rear on one of the cold drawers, but that suits me just fine. Another matter that needs my effort is not who, rather, but whom to call, though nobody talks like that, to be fair. She who must not be named is certainly off the list. That doesn't leave much in the category of close friends who attended the party, along with the category of who else is awake at this early hour. Zach? Though that really seems like a bad idea while you're here. Maybe if you go back to the penthouse, I don't know. But soon enough, I manage and the call goes through.
Hello, Rebecca Gales here.
Oh, of course.
Who's this?
Good morning, Becky.
Hannah?
I like that she has her as Becky on the phone.
Oh, wait, how did you get my number?
You responded to your RSVP through the phone. It's all saved in here, of course. I thought I'd like to say hi and make plans and get together sometime. Also, I'd love to hear news about your mother and father and about you, my dear. Oh, I hope I didn't wake you up.
Oh, you're good. It's sports day at school today, so I was just prepping for that.
Yeah, I was thinking, she's a teacher. She's up early.
Figures that you'd be a teacher as well. I'm sure your students must absolutely adore you.
Don't know about that.
Mathematics?
History, actually. Anyway, it's real nice to know you've got my number. I was going to ask for yours because Mom wanted to keep in touch.
You could have asked, silly girl. I would have gladly given it to you.
Couldn't, though, because, well, the thing that happened. But really am sorry, though. I gotta run. School, schedule, stuff. Is there anything else you want to say? Don't want to use the mobile while driving.
Oh, of course, of course. I shouldn't keep you. But I wanted to thank you for your company yesterday.
Not a problem.
I was hoping you could thank Zachary on my behalf as well. He was really kind and wonderful.
Well, you can tell him that yourself if you want. I can give you his number.
Sure, in like 3 days.
Oh, no, I don't want to be a bother. Intruding on his privacy.
Pretty sure he'd be fine with it. If you two are on a first-name basis and all. So, his number, right, it's...
Ooh. The call starts to go static. Though not really. Much to my frustration. In the attic. A strange clicking noise drowns out most of her words, too. I can barely understand what she's saying. It sounds like, help me, but that's not a number. That's not a number at all. And the line completely dies. Oh! I can feel a headache coming along. It's just building up, starting from a light throbbing on one side of my head. And then I feel a hand closing on the other side of my head. The static is gone, and that helps a lot. Now the creepy clicking noise is coming in much more clearly, thank you. But there is still that incessant, horrible, grudge ghost clicking. Again and again and again. Which doesn't make sense. The mobile's turned off, isn't it? And if it isn't coming from the phone, then... the clicking is coming from inside the house! Looking about, I can't help but let my eyes be drawn to the hatch leading into the wine cellar once more. Why would it be down there, though? The ghost can clearly go wherever it wants. Why is it playing games with calling you down to the cellar? Apparently it can mess with you wherever it feels like. Oh. That's when the clicking stops, and I can hear that crying. That familiar crying from before save. What happened the other day when I was told that nobody should have been down there? I tried to forget it because of how it unsettled me so. One can hardly do that when I'm looking at the very thing I'm trying to forget. Somebody is crying down there again. But if I leave it alone, it simply won't stop bothering me for the rest of the day. They might have forgotten to lock it with the party going on.
This again? If somebody is pulling my leg, I will not be happy.
Oh, really? We're just doing it. True enough, all it takes is a bit of a pull to open the hatch. As I look down to the cellar, a sense of uneasiness washes over me. Can't imagine why. It isn't just a sudden onset of vertigo and nausea, but also the darkness. Deep into the darkness peering. I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting. It's suffocating, and as I look down, it feels as if it's looking back at me. Because as we all know, if you stare down into the basement hatch of the wine cellar, the basement hatch of the wine cellar stares back at you. I worry that something will suddenly pull me into the deep. Here we go! The cries drown beneath the shrieks that start echoing in my head. Yeah, kind of. High and shrill, like nails being dragged across a chalkboard. So, let me know if you're getting a little feeling down your spine as you're reading these words. They're all screaming, shouting at me, and I can just feel her rage. Help me. She wants to drown me, drag me down and crush me in the very depths of darkness until there is nothing left of me. The deep abyss waits for me. For my death. They're all calling for it. This is a nightmare. Wait, what? There is a rope around my neck, and I can feel the rest of me being torn apart. And they're still screaming. I'm screaming, though it is not my voice that escapes my lips. It claws through, climbing up and forcing its way out my throat like putrid bile. I choke and gag, yet I scream and shriek all at the same time. And I'm me, but not me. Oh, really? Let's just see what happens. The screaming stops and dies down. Ah, I beat the game. It's a moment of reprieve, and I want to believe that I'm finally safe. But it's quiet. Too quiet. That's a little cliche. Oh, we don't even get a visual this time. Guess I'll continue. And I'm me, but not me. Alright, press tab to... Yeah, no. I did it! I beat Typing of the Dead. I can beat you. Right? I'm a freaking House of the Dead typing master. It pushes me down to my knees before I'm prone and vulnerable on my stomach. It makes me tumble, and I can just feel my whole body seizing, writhing on the floor. Everything and nothing hurts. It feels like I'm on the verge of death. And if I'm not dying, I nearly wish I actually am.
Hana? Hana, what is going on in there? Why are you?
Prince!
Seeing Luke, something snaps back, and I am able to take a gasp of air on my own volition for the first time in what felt like centuries. I would have rejoiced and cried for his name if the pain still did not rack my body. Instead, all I can do is stare listlessly as he comes to my side and lifts me up, cradling me in his arms. He tries to get me to my feet, perhaps to take me out of here, but all he's able to do is get me to sit, make sure I'm not trashing on the floor. What? Thrashing, maybe? Trashing? I can still feel my muscles spasm, limbs jerking like a puppet's on a string. Luke holds me tight and keeps me still so that I do not hurt myself anymore. Whatever it is that happened, it has my mind feeling frayed and battered. Eventually, the pain dies down into a dull ache, and my own tongue stops feeling like cotton. It's only now that I can feel the wetness on my cheeks, tears streaking down my face. That's some cough. That is a deep cough. A coughing racks my body now that I don't feel like choking. And it just all feels so horrible. But I don't care. I don't care.
Luke, please.
What happened here? Who did this to you?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Shh, it's all right. You're safe now, Hana. You're safe now.
Oh. So we're moving on to Zachary. Now that's interesting. Hana got out of her situation. Isabella? But enough of that. We're doing Zachary's story now. The pleasant aroma hits me long before I cross the threshold. Faint, but light and warm, a reminder of what home is. Pa's stern but commending gaze, Ma's tender smiles, the sunlight filtering through the eaves in the morning, and the distinct smell of cinnamon and vanilla as it drifts through the air every time something cooks in the room. That sounds amazing. The room, our room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy. My sister and I too, eventually. But we ain't allowed there. Not yet. Not until we're taller or older. Not until we've learned how to take care of ourselves and not burn our hands or reach the cupboards without having to be lifted.
But a little peek wouldn't hurt, yeah?
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than they usually are. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases and Pa...
No, please wait. I'll be good. I'll sleep on time. Don't go.
I can't hear Pa. Whoa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. When my foot slips, the red sea that catches me is bitter and frigid, but the blood that drips in my hand is warm, warm, warm. It ain't my blood. The walls tumble and everything goes quiet. It takes a few moments for everything to fall into place, for my eyes to adjust to the relative darkness of the room, which is a much cleaner and more organized room than Isabella's. Despite the pleasant chill the AC brings, my shirt is clinging tightly to me, and my blanket a tangled mess around my throat. Morning has not even arrived, and yet...
Way too early for this thing, man.
If we can trust the clock, it looks like midnight. And too long. Too long since the last I have woken up drenched in my own sweat, head littered with thoughts that are gone as soon as my eyes open. All too often, only imprints and brief images are left to haunt me for the rest of the day, or until my mind forgets about it. Egad, whichever comes first. Yet vivid or not, what little I can remember does not matter. Regardless, the desperation sticks, clawing up, pushing, urging me to relieve every moment, every sensation, and... There's a twinkle in Ma's eyes when she looks up from her work, flour dusting her nose and cheeks. The scent of freshly baked bread wafts from the oven as soon as Pa opens it, and the homely fragrance of honey fills the room. He reaches up to wipe the small beads of sweat away from his forehead before gesturing for me to come closer the moment he spots me in my little hiding place behind the door. I expected him to be angry, but his pat on my back when I come within his arm's reach is encouraging enough. We'll have to taste these first before we put it up for sale tomorrow. You up for it, little man? Is it good enough? A knock cuts through the air before I can answer. Sharp, heavy, demanding, familiar. So distantly familiar. Ma ushers me out the kitchen when Pa moves to answer it. But I know. I know what waits outside. The taste of blood in my mouth sends an unpleasant churning in my gut. Ma's apron crinkles under my tight grip. Something snaps back into place. My bed remains in an utter disarray, the walls still need a new paint job, and the wall clock taking opposite my bed is as unsettling as ever. Ash is right. I should have already replaced that when I had the chance.
You're no longer there, Zachary. Here and there are miles apart. Calm down. Breathe.
The pressure of my own fingers against my temples a welcome sensation over the anxiety gripping me. It never really did anything to stave off the headache sure to follow after this before, but it grounds me. A little reminder that I am safe, away from the place I once called home, from Ma and Pa's. The urgency with each rap that follows finally chases away the ghost threatening to hang around. Why anyone thinks it's a good idea to knock at someone else's door this late confuses me. Nana would chase them all away with a broom if she was here. But no matter, it's a welcome break from the thoughts about to take a morbid turn if left festering. It's probably just Ash anyway, looking for a place to crash. Looking for a place to crash. Wonder of wonders why he's bothering with the courtesy when he never did so before. Even with that hunch, though, habit compels me to check who it is first at the peephole. Better safe than sorry, they say. Except the person that greets me on the other side ain't him. Unless his hair grew longer overnight, and he started wearing a ponytail, of course, which I highly doubt will happen anytime soon, no matter how funny that looks in my head. Longer hair and a ponytail, could that be Isabella? I waste no time opening the latches.
Isabella, it's late.
A safe haven. So she survived the ghost encounter, I guess. There's something I can't quite pinpoint in her eyes when she looks up. Her face a pallid shade, shoulders tense, breathing heavy, and an uncontrollable shaking in her hand she's trying to hold back. Hide, if I didn't know any better.
Hey, Zach. Sorry, I know it's weird for me to show up at this hour, but you were the closest to my office, and...
No. It's perfectly fine. I'm not really working on anything right now.
I know it was kind of implied when we were hiding from the ghost that it's possible to hide from it. Like, it doesn't just know where we are, it has to look around, but this really confirms it. Isabella must have snuck out, and the ghost lost us? That's a little weird. Unless it meant to leave us, but I don't know why it would.
Do you want to come in?
Is it alright? I know you should be sleeping at this hour, but I thought... I'm sorry, I just thought... I have no idea why I went here. My feet just moved on their own after I got out of the office, and... Sorry.
She trails off, her voice lost in the muggy night air. I wait for her to say more, but instead, her only response is a downward shift of her gaze, back to her still trembling hands as if the motion alone is enough of an explanation. A minuscule gesture. Easy to miss if one is not paying attention. But for someone who has seen the same expression on the mirror, done the same thing too many times when night terrors are inevitable, it is not.
Hey, don't worry about it. At least you not. Ash just barges in and crashes on the couch whenever he feels like it. I swear that guy is one fine hairline away from being a criminal. Besides, you already know you can count on me whenever.
Without waiting for her answer, I step away from the door and saunter over the kitchenette. For a few good seconds, only the clinking of the plates can be heard above the constant tick-tock. Late as it may be for a snack, the familiar motions keep me occupied, steering my mind away from dangerous thoughts. Isabella's company is not unwelcome either. Whatever her reasons for showing up here at such an hour, it doesn't matter. I'll be damned if I just turn her away, frazzled as she is. The door clicks shut behind her when she finally enters, feet scuffling softly against the tiled floor. In all the years I've known her, she has never once lost her ever upbeat spirit. Yet in this particular moment, as she stands in my doorway, holding her arms close to herself, it's as if I'm looking at someone completely withdrawn from the person I've come to know all these years.
Do you want to drink or eat anything? I haven't restocked my food stash yet, so ingredients may be a bit limited. But I'm sure I can whip something up with what I have here.
Just water will do, please. Thanks, Zach.
What? No additional food requests? That's new. I'll put something together for you anyway. And feel free to make yourself at home. You ain't exactly a new visitor here. Although my room's not at its most presentable right now. Sorry. New freelance gigs and such. Didn't have time to fix things up here lately.
It's okay. I don't mind.
Usually she'd have something more to say about that. A quip, a witty remark to provoke a laughter or two. Nothing from her this time. Only a weak smile before she takes a seat on the couch, and a silence that stretches out until what we left hanging feels disconcerting. Before everything turns stifling and awkward, I continue talking, if only to keep the dead air at bay. How's one supposed to keep a conversation going when the person you're talking to is like this?
Anyway, Gigs, can you believe this one client we got? Boss had all my scheduled shoots shifted after they caught wind of this couple buying a new property. Man, must be nice to have all the money in the world. The world itself moves for you, huh?
She's curled up on one side of the couch and hugging her knees close when I bring the tray carrying the sandwiches and the water she requested. She starts to straighten up as I'm unloading the contents, but pauses as soon as I hold up my hand in a halting gesture.
You're a guest. Didn't I say you're free to make yourself at home? Here's your water. Careful.
The tremor in her hands, though, lighter now, still hasn't subsided when she reaches out for the glass. I give her a questioning look, but she is quick to avert her eyes, keeping herself occupied by taking small gulps of water. Or maybe she just doesn't want me asking questions. Worrying. This sudden loss for words, this bout of quiet not normally present in our chats. Even the creaking of the old chair when I casually take a seat is a welcome break. Although the company's familiar, this has gone way past unnerving.
What happened? Overtime at work?
She doesn't answer immediately. Another gulp drains her glass of its remaining contents. One would think it would be enough to help her recover, yet she doesn't lose her taut grip on the glass as she cradles it on her lap. Her eyes take an unfocused gaze when she speaks again.
Yeah. Boss handed me extra work today. After what happened to Rose.
Rose? Why do I feel like you've mentioned her before? Sorry, I'm better with remembering faces than names.
She was my coworker. That will take some getting used to. I was just talking to her the other day.
Was? Did she resign or something? I think I'm missing a few details here, Bella.
You've never met her. I think I did mention her once or twice. It doesn't matter. You probably heard her name recently from the news than me.
Something clicks then. A little memory from the night before. The bright red light from the dark room, the strong odor of the stop bath, the television's barely audible murmur in the background, and a glimpse of a bloody room. The news is everywhere, even in the morning that follows. I just didn't think its effects would strike someone this close to me.
Oh. Damn. I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, like I said, it'll take some getting used to, but it'll get better. I hope it will. Things might become a little busier for me, though. She left a lot of things unfinished, and I'm one of the few people in the office who knows how she works. Boss thinks the transition will be easier if I handle it.
That explains it. Well, just don't forget you still need rest. Even the most hard-working people I know don't keep hours as late as this. Hell, the subway stopped running hours ago. Crime rate might be lower here than most places, but that doesn't mean you can walk around freely in the middle of the night.
It's just for today.
Still a good thing you dropped by here first. I'm not just about to let you walk out here alone, especially not in the middle of the night. Who knows what else could happen? I'm not saying you should go right now, but I could accompany you home if you...
No! Wait, please!
The vehement tension in her voice makes me pause, and it is in this instant the mask she's been keeping up falls apart, if only for a short while. Right then and there I understood what's hiding behind her unfocused stare from the moment she arrived. Fear. Pure, unadulterated fear. It's disturbing to see such marring her usual upbeat countenance. With a sigh, I cross the small distance separating us and kneel in front of her. She doesn't flinch when I do so. However, the way she appears to make herself smaller against the couch is telling enough.
Bella, this ain't just about your coworker, is it? What is it really about? I'm all ears.
The sound of glass shattering rents through the air as soon as her hold on it loosens. In the span of a few seconds, her breathing grows labored.
I don't know anymore.
She claps her hands over her ears, pressing it tightly against the sides of her head, them. Her voice grows weaker with each word, each plea coming out of her mouth.
Please don't leave me alone. I don't want to be alone right now. I can't shake it off. Everywhere's not safe and...
All right, Isabella. Look at me.
My hands are firm on her shoulder when I pull her up to look at me. It takes every force of will to ignore the terror in her eyes in favor of taking control of the situation. Too close, too similar.
Breathe. You're safe here. Inhale, hold, exhale. Stay in the present. I'm here. No one's gonna hurt you. Do you want to talk about it?
The force with which she shakes her head is enough reason to drop the topic altogether.
No more. Please, no more. I don't want to remember anymore.
Kate, no more talking. I won't ask any more. Can I get you anything? Another glass of water? I think I have a tub of that pistachio ice cream you love so much. We're gonna have to clean this mess first. Will you be fine on your own for a little while?
She nods lightly before retreating into herself again. No more words are exchanged after that, and I take that as my cue to start cleaning the shards littering the floor before either one of us gets hurt. The quiet hum of the AC is a pleasant distraction as I go over the menial task. More so than a ragged draws of breath or my little feeble attempts to tell a quick story or two. But the latter does the trick, and soon enough she has already drifted off by the time I return with the promised glass of water, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, the strain on her shoulders gone. Frankly, I've never seen her this still. She mumbles something that I don't quite catch when I carry her to the empty bed and hugs herself tighter against the mess of blankets. In spite of the fact that she appears relaxed, the small frown on her face hasn't quite disappeared. Whatever happened to her won't be leaving her anytime soon. But for her sake, I hope it won't stay long with her. Because no matter what promises I've made, this is a kind of fear no person could shield her from. I should know. There are still questions left to be answered. But the late hour, coupled with the sudden exhaustion, made my old couch a more comfortable bed than it typically is. Darkness immediately welcomes me as soon as my head hits my makeshift pillow. I can only wish the dreams will keep it at distance for now. For both of us. Damn, that is some scene. Well, we got the next day, and we have a vibration of a phone. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. In the end, it became one of those nights when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague, fuzzy thoughts. I lift a hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the cool morning light, washing everything in subtle gray hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button, twice or thrice, just to catch those precious few extra minutes of sleep. But the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
Groggily, I scramble for the bag sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped even as I fish the phone out, and Ashton's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call yet.
Took you long enough, Z-Man.
Ashton, it's 6 in the morning. The sun hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet. Stop calling me Z-Man.
It's 20 past 6, Zach.
You're one to talk. Give me back my 5 extra minutes, Ash. I want my sleep.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I can be a more person too if I want to.
What's this all really about? You don't usually make calls around this hour. Is the world ending today?
Sorry about that. Becca rang me up a few minutes ago looking for Isabella. Said she didn't show up in her own apartment last night. We both tried calling, but her phone seems to be off. Do you have any idea where...
I should have known you two would come looking for her first thing in the morning.
Not a laughing matter, Zach. You can't really let your guard down with everything that's happened here recently. You've heard about the Cooper woman from the news. Everyone in the precinct has been restless ever since the incident the other day.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Listen, Ash, about Bella.
I let my voice trail off, unsure of how to go about recounting last night. If I should even say anything to him. He might be a close friend, but at the end of the day, whatever's bothering her ain't mine to speak of in the first place. On the bed, Isabella remains as still as when I transferred her the night before. Sometime during her sleep, she pulled up a blanket over herself and tucked into it comfortably. Like this, it's easy to forget the horror in her eyes, or how much her hands and lips trembled. Save for a firm grip on the edge of the cover, she appears nearly as normal as she would any other day. Almost.
I'm not really sure how to go about this while being...
Zach, what about her?
Something, the worry, the concern, must have surfaced in my tone because his own shifts then. Carefully, as if he's preparing for the worst.
Look, you don't have to worry about her. She's with me right now. Since last night, in fact.
Oh, why didn't you just say so earlier?
She kinda knocked in the middle of the night. I couldn't possibly wake you two over that. And with how things are when she arrived, I thought it'd be best if I let her rest first. I just wasn't expecting people would be looking for her before the rooster even crows.
You could have at least called her something. Becca's beside herself with worry when she found out. You know how much she frets about the smallest stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. That was a lapse on my part. And I just didn't think, okay, you know what? Rebecca's worries ain't completely baseless. Isabella hasn't been her usual self since the movie. Maybe even before that. I don't know if I should be opening my mouth about this, but Bella didn't outright say I shouldn't, so
So something's wrong then?
I'm not quite sure, to be completely honest. I couldn't get the story out of her.
Really? I thought you'd learned something from me by now.
That's not it. Ash, when she appeared at my doorstep last night, she was shaking, and when I tried to ask her about it, she just panicked. Had this frightened look on her face. I'd be surprised if this was the first time I've seen it, but it ain't. Dude, the first time, she was screaming.
First time? When was this? You weren't talking about the thing in the movie house, are you? Because that was just us fooling around. Granted, I think I went overboard with the joke, but...
No, it happened the day after. When she invited us to lunch, you weren't there. We were walking one second, and then the next, she's crying out. I'll be straight with you. That scared me shitless.
It bothered him, if the way he falls silent after is telling. But whatever his opinion is stays absent from his voice when he speaks again. He's always been good with that, hiding what he thinks.
Did she say anything else?
Nothing. Won't tell me anything aside from a few vague words. I didn't want to push it.
Where is she? Is she still sleeping?
Right here with me, still sleeping. Should I wake her up or something? Let her know you guys are looking for her?
No need. Let her rest. I'll drop by in a few.
Today? Don't you have work at this time? I mean, I can drop her off home myself before meeting my client later.
Look who's talking.
My schedule's flexible, Ash. Last time I checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury. How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up, you know.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scared Cat's fine. Bye.
He drops the call before I can even get a word in, and for several minutes after I find myself simply listening as the rest of Luxborn rouses. The increasing sound of passing traffic, the bustle of the nearby shops preparing for the day, and the growing clamor of the people while they go about their morning. Not the most soothing sounds to hear following a troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby, Isabella shifts but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware as the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair, to say such in light of last night. If only forgetting is as easy as breathing. A small yawn escapes me when I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have a day to get through, despite the proverbial ghosts hanging around, and the literal ones. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against my palm the instant I pick it up. The sterile odor of the capsules equally so. Yet the weight they carry is something I've never gotten used to. Years ago, I spent minutes, heck, even hours staring at a single pill prior to taking one in. Now it's just routine, a way to stave off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro will be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Jeez. Another sigh comes out. There it was, tired and weary, and then I pop the tablet into my mouth.
Zach? What time is it?
The bottle in my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are some things I'd rather keep to myself.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the question with a long, drawn-out yawn, one reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out of my mouth at the sight. In this manner, it's easy to mistake her for someone too young for responsibilities. Inexperienced and immature, even. Easy to forget she was thrust into the role of an adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level Ash exercises for his investigations, or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to deftly put what she sees around her on canvas. And if the way her eyes flicker to the table and my hand says something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the questions this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
My doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be if I leave a lady sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions? Not in this house. My nana would give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime. Although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot, I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. But as long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be...
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another cursory glance over the table, back to the bottle holding every small piece of what keeps the bad memories at bay. The blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. Oof. I figured Zach was coming from somewhere with that movie of his. It never stops, doesn't it?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
She makes a slight gesture with her head towards the bottle, asking a question without really asking. Subtlety has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not at a loss for words at that. She has left it up to me whether I'll ever give her the response she wants to hear or not. A little clever coming from her, if anyone would ask me. Tell the truth. But it's never easy, ain't it? Okay. Talking about my own problems, that is. It will never be. Not by a long shot. Not when I've let it stay this way for so long. I realized that long ago, when the wounds were still fresh and the dreams were a nightly occurrence. Can't force yourself to get better or move on to better things. It is what's normal now, and I can only cope. The question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact, but of all the people I keep close in my life, she's probably one of the very few who perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely. I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her and giving too much of what I can. However, for all her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out. And that is all I can ask of her.
My bad. I was kinda hoping you wouldn't have seen me with these.
The pills rattle lightly against the container when I gently set it back to its usual place. Always a small area closest to my laptop, near the right hand. Within reach whenever, and a quiet reminder of what I shouldn't miss every day. Should be 2 words.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's. Do you need me to get anything from the store? Soup or something? There's one nearby, right? I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now. It's really difficult to say, but... Can you promise me you'll listen at least?
What is this about, Zach?
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. But Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is. Can't hide anything from him.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
If you say so.
She takes a seat on the couch, her posture easy and open, and her smile honest. As if this is just a simple talk between 2 friends on a regular day. It is far from one, but her unreserved air is enough to stamp down the twinge of unease that threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. True to her word, she listens while the story spills out of my mouth, of my ma and pa, that little old diner across the pond, and what it left in me that day. I can't recall most of it now, my own account jagged with a few missing details here and there. The passing years have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident. All except for that one moment in the kitchen. The ringing of gunshots are as vivid as it sounded that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams the moment Pa's body hits the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from under him. And the gunman. He was smiling. He was smiling when Pa opened the door to welcome him. He was smiling when he put a bullet to Pa's chest and Ma's head. I've heard stories of how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. I never believed until that moment.
Nan and Gran took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment will be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
I expected questions, mostly those brimming with childlike curiosity and maybe some that are a little too hard to answer. That would be immature. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see the breadwinner in her. Her younger siblings are lucky to have her. When I'm done, after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me. A bit awkward considering the gap in our heights, but it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in kind, if I am even supposed to reciprocate the gesture, given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face. Not the reaction I braced myself for, but it is obviously better than what I imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate, but if you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
Oh? Okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry, I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now. When I'm ready. Like today.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah? Whew! Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected. I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our... what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons? But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes in her face, brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
You okay?
Yep, no worries. I'll be fine. Look, about last night... Never mind. This isn't a good time. But don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more than reassuring to my ears. There should be comfort in hearing those alone, in knowing I have another person to rely on if things should ever go bad. But somehow I find myself worrying more for her instead. I mean, we don't know quite yet, but she has a freaking killer ghost chasing her. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can. But this is a dance I know all too well, and with her, I doubt forcing her to say something would yield any results. As much as I want to imitate Ash, there's only so much I can ask that won't result in something a little over-disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I have never seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe, and often directed at Ash, but never furious. What do they say again about happiest people when angered? Yeah, there's some famous quote, I forgot what it was, like there are only a few things to fear, and one of them was like a moonless night or something, and like the anger of a gentle man. It was something like that. Like when you finally piss them off, it's the scariest thing ever. Besides, it'd be unfair to her after our little chat.
So, food then?
She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject, and as if it has been simply waiting for its cue all this time, her stomach anime rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of fact.
Alrighty, Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that hungry. Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks. I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe. I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
The soft laughter that comes from her doesn't quite reach her eyes. Neither. The answer is neither. Because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the ham.
Damn, Zachary is discreet.
You up for that?
What? Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about? I'll have you know I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All my siblings love it.
I've never heard it pronounced that way. I thought it was paella. Paella? Huh.
Sure you can. Come on. I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Okay. Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with small chatter, cooking ends up being mostly a quiet affair. I am not surprised. And for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? But this was a heavy one. We concluded Hannah's story, at least this chapter of Hannah's story. I'm assuming we're going to come back to everyone eventually. And we had an uncomfortable spat with Luke, but then Luke turned around at the very end when he saw Hannah was panicked. I guess there is still a part of him that genuinely loves her, but personally, I don't think this marriage is a healthy one. But man, oh man, she was not looking good after the spooky ghost actually attacked. This is getting to be a real problem. Speaking of which, Isabella got out of her situation, apparently, but boy, is she feeling the effects of that one. Miserable night. Zach had his own night terrors from his childhood, which is a brutal real-world issue. This was a lot to talk about, but everybody is doing their best to deal with their respective traumas, and it looks like we're not quite out of the woods yet as far as Zach and Isabella's scene, but we're going to do what we can. Until next time, everyone.